Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we take a whole stack of incredible sources, cut through all the noise, and really just distill the most potent insights. We want to give you that shortcut to being truly well-informed.
Exactly.
Today, we're heading out on a pretty fascinating journey, I think. We're drawing on timeless wisdom, Stoic philosophers, some Buddhist teachings, even reflections from giants like Tolstoy, and modern thinkers like Robert Greene, too.
Right.
Our mission really is to unpack these powerful lessons on how to live with more intention, how to observe things more deeply, maybe think more independently, and genuinely connect with the world around you.
Indeed. And we're going to explore ideas that, honestly, they might challenge our usual ways of communicating, how we interact. They reveal some, well, surprising paths to inner strength, to clarity, and, genuine happiness.
Yeah.
You might actually be struck by how these ancient insights speak so directly to the challenges we face now, right? This constantly connected, information-heavy life.
It's uncanny, isn't it? Almost like they saw it coming.
It really is.
Absolutely. So we've got a real treasure trove of insights today. Everything from like the unexpected power of just being quiet to maybe the secret of true contentment. Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's dive in.
Let's do.
Okay, so we've all had those moments, right, where words just kind of get ahead of us.
Oh, absolutely.
We say something maybe in the heat of the moment or, trying to impress someone.
Or just filling silence.
Yeah, exactly. Just out of habit. And then immediately you get that sinking feeling like, oh, that's going to come back to bite me.
Yep. Been there.
Our sources suggest this isn't just like a random slip-up. It's actually a fundamental challenge, maybe especially in modern life.
And what's fascinating is how consistent the message is across these really different wisdom traditions. You've got Jonathan Lockwood Huey, for instance, who advises us to be a passionate observer of life.
Passionate observer. I like that.
Yeah. See the events, feel the emotions, and recognize the difference. It's not just sitting back passively. It's like an active, mindful awareness.
So understanding before speaking.
Exactly. It implies that before we even open our mouths, we should really try to see what's going on.
And then there's Seneca, the old Stoic, who just drops this profound truth bomb. Silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life. Now that sounds, well, it sounds pretty heavy, doesn't it? Like silence is some kind of punishment.
It does sound that way initially.
But actually our sources frame it, maybe more hopefully, as a powerful way to avoid a whole lot of unnecessary trouble and regret. What do you think he really means by lesson learned from suffering?
Well, I think that's a crucial distinction. The Daily Stoic guys, they elaborate on this really well. They point out that often we speak to make ourselves look smart or cool or part of the group.
Right, validation trap.
Exactly. Not because what we have to say is genuinely necessary or, adds any real value. And Robert Greene, he takes it even further in his work. He basically cautions that the more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish.
Okay, that's pretty direct.
It is. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, talking too much, it doesn't just risk making us look bad. It means we might blow past opportunities, ignore feedback, and cause ourselves suffering.
Wow.
So it's maybe less about what you say and more about why you're saying it in the first place.
Okay, so if talking too much leads to suffering, what's the alternative? I mean, how does silence actually build us up? Because that feels really counterintuitive, in a world that seems to value being heard above almost everything else.
Yeah, it does. But it seems to be about developing this inner security. The sources explain it like this. The inexperienced and fearful talk to reassure themselves.
Ah, like a nervous habit.
Kind of, yeah. Almost as if their words are like a shield or maybe a desperate attempt to prove they exist or matter.
Okay.
In contrast, the ability to listen, to deliberately keep out of a conversation and subsist without its validity is rare.
Right, just being comfortable not jumping in.
Exactly. So silence, then, isn't emptiness. It becomes a way to build strength and self-sufficiency. It creates this really vital space. Space for genuine observation, space for other people to actually express themselves fully, and crucially, space for deeper wisdom to kind of emerge within you.
Like cultivating a quiet inner garden. I think you said that earlier. That's a powerful image.
Yeah, where genuine insights can actually take root and grow.
And that inner security, it's not just about controlling what you say, is it? It's also about safeguarding your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Because as our sources reveal, there are these powerful forces, often unseen, constantly trying to shape how we think. I mean, have you ever noticed how easily we can pick up beliefs, even really strong ones, just because everyone else seems to hold them,
Oh, definitely.
without ever really examining them ourselves, it feels like
Mm.
thought contagion sometimes.
That is precisely what Leo Tolstoy digs into in his Calendar of Wisdom. He offers this really penetrating analysis of what he calls the influence trap.
The influence trap.
Yeah. He observes that false and harmful opinions are distributed and supported by influence. We are just too likely, he says, to accept the views and thoughts of other people without trying to investigate them deeper and further ourselves.
So just sort of drifting along.
Pretty much, yeah. It can be an almost unconscious adoption, like getting caught in a current you didn't even realize was there.
And Tolstoy, he goes as far as saying that unimportant people are those who accept other people's thoughts without developing them themselves. That's a pretty stark warning.
It really is.
It makes you question, doesn't it? How truly free are we if our thoughts are constantly being swayed by, external pressures or just the opinion of the crowd? Is real independent thought even possible when we're surrounded by constant noise and signals?
It highlights a really critical, almost radical point he makes.
Yep.
Your thought is easily influenced by the presence of another soul. A person can be completely free only when he is alone.
Okay, whoa. Alone. That sounds isolating.
Well, yeah, but I don't think he's advocating for, becoming a hermit. It's more about cultivating a mental space, an inner space, where you can genuinely process information without that immediate social pressure. Finding that kind of inner solitude, maybe even when you're in a crowded room.
Okay, I see. Like a mental buffer zone.
Something like that. And Tolstoy also warns that nothing is more harmful than a bad example set by others. They bring into our life notions which never would have occurred to us without an example.
So bad habits of thought can spread like wildfire.
Exactly. It's almost like catching a bad mood from someone, but for your entire worldview.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher, and he totally got this. He advised something like, do not allow yourself to be infected by the mood or spirit of those who abuse you. Do not step onto their path.
Right. So it's not just about guarding against, explicit arguments or opinions, but also that subtle emotional contagion that can just derail our independent thinking.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we spot these, false ideas?
Well, Tolstoy offers a pretty handy tool for discernment. He says that false ideas which gain currency can easily be recognized by the loud fanfare with which they are accompanied.
Ah, the hype.
Exactly. Whereas real truth does not need any outer embellishments. This connects back beautifully to what we were saying about silence, doesn't it?
It really does.
Authentic wisdom often speaks quietly. It doesn't need the bombast or, a cheering section.
If it needs to shout to be heard, maybe it's worth questioning.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, that's a brilliant insight.
Mm.
Now, moving from sort of guarding our inner world,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about something that honestly might seem completely counterintuitive at first.
Okay.
What if the secret to your own happiness doesn't actually lie in focusing intensely on yourself, but paradoxically on others? This seems to fly in the face of so much self-help advice out there, right? Which is often very self-focused.
It really does. And Robert Thurman's assertion here is remarkably direct. It's quite provocative, actually, he says. The cause of all unhappiness is self-concern. The cause of all happiness is concern for others.
Wow. Okay. That's stark.
It is. And it raises this really important question for us to grapple with. How can giving away your energy, your care, actually lead to more happiness for you? It feels like it shouldn't work mathematically.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like a zero-sum game. And it connects back, doesn't it, to our earlier discussion about talking just for validation.
How so?
Well, when we're constantly worried about how we look or how we sound or how we're being perceived, our concern for others can actually be like a sneaky, disguised form of self-concern.
Ah, right. Like, am I helping them so I look good, or do they like me now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when we cultivate that inner security we talked about through maybe silence, through independent thought perhaps, then we can genuinely be present for others, free from that constant inner monologue about ourselves.
Precisely. I think that's the key. True, authentic concern for others, it seems to emerge from a place of inner strength and self-possession. It's not really a sacrifice. Maybe it's more like an overflow.
An overflow. I like that.
And this idea is reflected beautifully in Jim Rohn's very nuanced understanding of leadership and just character in general.
Oh, yeah? What does he say?
He talks about the challenges. Like, the challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude, be kind, but not weak, be bold, but not bully,
The balancing act.
be thoughtful, but not lazy, Be humble, but not timid. Be proud, but not arrogant. Have humor, but without folly. It's all these balanced qualities, this delicate dance between, say, strength and compassion.
Right.
And those qualities, Ron implies, they really only emerge from someone who has genuinely done that inner work first.
I love that framework.
Right.
It's really about being able to stand firm in your principles without being, mean-spirited about it.
Right. Or offering genuine care and generosity without letting people just walk all over you.
Yeah, it's a very sophisticated kind of strength, isn't it? And the sources also point out that a person with high morals becomes more strict about his words and actions, which could influence other people. They understand that profound Wickle effect they have. It's not just about doing good. It's about being aware of the impact of your very presence, your actions, your words.
It's a deep sense of responsibility, I think, but maybe not a burdensome one. Perhaps it's just the natural outcome of a well-ordered inner life.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now, here's where things get really interesting. And honestly, this one felt a bit like a riddle to me when I first read it.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
One of the most profound insights coming from these wise folks is that the mystery itself is the key to all understanding.
Huh. The mystery is the key.
Right. What does that even mean? Especially for us, in a world that seems obsessed with getting answers, with certainty, with control.
It's a beautiful paradox, isn't it? It really points to, I think, a much more sophisticated relationship with knowledge. Well, it suggests that our relentless desire, maybe even compulsive need for certainty and control, it can actually hinder deeper understanding.
Okay. So wanting answers stops us from understanding. How?
Maybe because instead of fearing what we don't know or rushing to slap a label on everything, we're invited to approach the unknown with curiosity, with like an open hand rather than a clenched fist. It's about acknowledging the limits of our knowledge, maybe finding wisdom in that very humility.
That immediately makes me think of that Mark Twain quip. You know the one? I am an old man and have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happen.
Huh. Yes, exactly. That fits perfectly.
So much of our anxiety and perhaps our compulsive need to explain and control everything, it just stems from worrying about imaginary futures or things that are by their nature unknown.
Absolutely. And when we learn to be comfortable with uncertainty, when we stop demanding, a complete roadmap for every single journey, the sources suggest we actually become much happier and paradoxically more discerning.
More discerning. How does being okay with not knowing make you more discerning?
Because instead of pretending to know things we don't or feeling anxious about the gaps, we can ask genuine questions. We can remain open. We can truly learn.
Right. You're not defending a position you don't fully understand.
Exactly. And Arthur Schopenhauer, he reminds us that the finest thought runs the risk of being irrevocably forgotten if it is not written down, which kind of underscores how precious and often fleeting true insights are. And those insights, they often arise from that quiet, unforced space we talked about earlier, a space that's born from embracing rather than trying to conquer the unknown.
So to really bring this home for you, listening right now, maybe in your next important conversation or when you're facing a big decision, can you just pause for a moment and genuinely ask yourself, okay, what am I not seeing here? What might I learn if I just stay curious, stay open, embrace the mystery a bit? Instead of feeling defensive or needing to be right.
Yeah, what possibilities might open up then? It's a powerful question.
It really is. Okay, so this is all incredible wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Distilled from literally millennia of human experience. But as fascinating as these concepts are, how do we actually apply them, in our demanding, often chaotic, everyday lives?
That's the crucial part, isn't it? And thankfully, the sources do provide some very concrete, practical advice.
Good. Let's hear it.
Well, the first and maybe the most impactful practice is mindful listening.
Okay.
The next time you're in a conversation, doesn't matter if it's with a colleague, a friend, family, really try to focus completely on what the other person is saying.
Instead of planning your reply while they're still talking.
Exactly. Instead of mentally rehearsing your comeback or formulating your rebuttal, just listen. You might be genuinely surprised by how much more you understand, not just their words, but maybe the feeling behind them, the underlying message.
Okay, mindful listening. Got it. What's next?
Second, practice thinking for yourself, but kindly.
Kindly. How so?
Well, if something you hear, maybe a popular opinion or something someone says, just doesn't sound right to you, if it seems flawed, you don't necessarily have to jump into an argument or feel the need to prove your point immediately.
Right, avoid the conflict.
Or just postpone it. Just hold the thought. Investigate it later, quietly. Maybe Talk it over with a trusted source, someone independent. It's about cultivating that internal filter without becoming, cynical or aggressive about it.
Okay. Think for yourself, but gently. Makes sense.
Third,
Third, actively look for ways to help others without expecting anything back.
the happiness paradox again.
Exactly. And this doesn't have to be huge gestures. It could be as simple as holding a door, sharing a resource you found useful, or just truly, truly listening to a friend who needs an ear without trying to fix them.
Right, just offering presence.
Yeah. And you'll often find, the sources suggest, that this genuine other-focused action brings you this unexpected, quite deep sense of joy and fulfillment that self-concern rarely delivers. That's powerful. And there's some really balanced advice too, isn't there? Kind of integrating everything we've talked about, like a personal operating system.
Yes, absolutely. It goes something like, give but don't allow yourself to be used.
Okay. Boundary.
Love but don't allow your heart to be abused.
Mm-hmm. Healthy relationships.
Trust but don't be naive.
Discernment.
Listen to others but don't lose your own voice.
Back to independent thought.
Yeah,
That's brilliant. It really ties it together.
it does. And it's not about building walls or becoming cynical or closed off. It's really about developing that wisdom that comes from inner security, from genuine self-knowledge.
Right.
It's about living consciously, really observing your own motivations, responding thoughtfully, rather than just reacting impulsively.
And it's a practice, right? Not a destination.
Absolutely. A lifelong practice,
Yeah.
a constant process of refinement.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, it feels like the most important lesson, maybe the core message from all these wise people, is actually quite beautifully simple. The best way to live is just to be kind. Kind to yourself by fostering that inner security and thinking independently, and kind to others by acting from a place of genuine concern, not self-concern. It's about thinking carefully before you speak or act. And also remembering that you don't have to be perfect to be a good person or to live a meaningful life.
That sums it up beautifully. When you learn to observe carefully, to really see and hear what's going on, the world becomes clearer. You become more perceptive.
Right.
When you think for yourself but stay open to new information, you become wiser, less likely to fall into that influence trap. When you genuinely care for others' happiness, perhaps as much as your own, you discover this deeper, more sustainable happiness for yourself.
Yeah.
And when you're comfortable with not knowing everything, when you embrace that mystery, you stay curious, you stay open, you keep learning, which paradoxically really is the key to understanding.
And there's one final piece of advice that feels like it ties it all together so well, because ultimately all these insights are about how we connect, how we relate.
What's that?
Never waste an opportunity to tell someone you love them.
Simple but profound.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily about, grand romantic gestures. It's just about letting people know you care. In whatever way feels right, authentic. Maybe it's a quiet act of service, maybe a kind word, maybe just being fully present with them.
It feels like the natural fruit of living authentically, doesn't it? Applying all these lessons leads to that kind of connection.
It really does.
And like you said, this isn't some final destination we arrive at. It's a practice. Every single wise person we've talked about was once a beginner, struggling with their own impulses, their own fears, the world's complexities.
That's a comforting thought.
It is. The more you consciously practice these ideas, mindful listening, thinking for yourself, helping others, embracing a bit of mystery, the more natural they become. And the more profound your life and probably the lives of those around you will be. It's definitely a journey worth taking.
So, what stands out to you from today's deep dive? How will you practice this art of authentic living this week? We really encourage you to keep being that passionate observer, that discerning thinker, and just a genuinely concerned human being in all your interactions. Until next time, keep diving deep.